just a quick review of the book, Heal Your Shoulder at Home and Get Results. Basically, the book is for people that have any kind of shoulder problems. So it's kind of a generalized book for shoulder problems, not really for any specific one. It uses a 12-step program, and I'll go over just some of the things that involves. For instance, he's really big on assessing your range of motion, like how flexible is your shoulder. It goes into improving your posture. Because a lot of times, if your shoulder's forward, you actually don't have as much range of motion as if your shoulders are back and you're standing up straight. So yeah, there is a definitely tie-in between your posture and how well your shoulder functions. They talk about natural remedies, like cold, heat, aerobic exercise. Goes into medications, so it talks about that. And has stretching exercises and strengthening exercises. Those are the two main types. You want to get your shoulder more flexible and you want to get it stronger too. Has plenty of exercises for each. then it does talk about maintenance too. So once you've got to where you want to be, how do I stay there? So yeah, I think it's a pretty complete book, for any shoulder problem, basically because it treats function, it improves the function of your shoulder. And usually as your shoulder function gets better, pain goes away and you feel a whole lot better. So yeah, I think the exercises are easy to do, and I think if you're headed for surgery and you want to avoid surgery, I think this would be a good book to check out. So yeah, this is a book for just not really any specific problem. So there's two types of I would say musculoskeletal books or shoulder books. One is for general. So hey, do this program. It'll help with a lot of different conditions. The other alternative route you could go, if you want, is look for a book more specifically on whatever problem you have. Like say you have a torn rotator cuff. I know this is one book that I know of, the 6-minute torn rotator cuff solution. It's not just for a whole myriad of shoulder problems, but it's mainly specifically for your rotator cuff. Although I do have to say, if you strengthen your rotator cuff, that can solve a lot of shoulder problems. Your shoulder is a very shallow ball and socket joint, and it depends upon most of its stability with a rotator cuff, these group of muscles that hold the ball tightly in the socket. And so when you get a lot of stability in your shoulder, a lot of shoulder problems have a tendency to go away. But yeah, just to contrast, general versus specific book. This one here basically just talks about goes into a lot of detail, like what the rotator cuff is, what does it do, has a lot of pictures in it, just for the layman. Answers you need to know, talks about things, what are symptoms of a rotator cuff tear, any arm maneuvers that might indicate that I have a rotator cuff tear, where exactly does the rotator cuff tear at, are there different types of tears. I have a rotator cuff tear and I'm in a lot of pain, I need surgery, right? Not necessarily. This book is very evidence-based. It heavily relies upon research and published studies to answer these questions. Each one of these boxes is like a study. Interesting. I'll take a minute out. So this book points to studies where you take, say, 100 people with rotator cuff tears, and then the researchers measure how big the tear is, or what's the size of the tear and how much pain they're in. And they find a lot of times there can be no correlation between the size of your tear and how much pain you're in. In other words, they can find people with big tears that actually have no pain. Okay, and then you can find people with small tears that are in a ton of pain. So here again, just your pain level doesn't really indicate whether you need surgery or not. What will happen if I just leave my rotator cuff tear alone? The only way you can answer that is looking at all the studies where they take a bunch of people with torn rotator cuffs that don't get any treatment, and you follow them for 5 or 10 years. What happens to it over time? Here's a great one too. How does exercise compare to surgery if you tear your rotator cuff? So here again, evidence-based medicine, you want to look at the randomized controlled trials. That's the best form of proof in medicine if something's to show that something's effective. This book has gone through all the randomized controlled trials comparing exercise to surgery. And basically, this would be a study where you say you take 100 people, 50 you randomize to surgery, 50 you randomize to exercise, and then you follow them over time and see who does better. Well, come to find out, really interesting, the results are very consistent in the randomized controlled trials. Whether you have surgery or you do exercise, a good exercise program, you're going to end up at the same place. So I don't know if anybody knows that, but look at the research. To that end, the book ends with an exercise program. Similar to the other one, it has a lot of stretching and strengthening in it. It has a beginning, intermediate, and advanced, which I really liked as well. Say, you just tore your rotator cuff, you can hardly move your arm, got some simple exercises. Some people have a small tear, or they can do a lot, but, it still nags them a lot, and they can do a little bit more exercise. You can start with the intermediate or advanced program. But yeah, differences in the books, shoulder books. If you're looking for hey, I specifically tore my rotator cuff, you could get by with a book that generally treats a lot of different shoulder conditions, or you could go for a book like this that specifically probably give you a little more information about your specific condition. But hey, there's nothing wrong with a book like this, because here again, I think the beauty of this kind of book is that it treats function. And usually pain is a result of something not functioning properly. And if you increase the function of it, you get better, usually no matter what the problem. So that's where the book like this really shines. So yeah, have a shoulder problem? Definitely check it out.